Yanmadgalila Kaikam Swayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Vihitam Vishmaparam Swasya Tato Bhagavate Param Param Bhushanam Bhushanagam Yanmadgalila Kaikam Swayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Vihitam Vishmaparam Swasya Tato Bhagavate Param Param Bhushanam Bhushanagam
Vaishnavis.
Yanmadgalila Kaikam Swayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Vihitam
Vishmaparam Swasya Tato Bhagavate
Vishmaparam Swasya Tato Bhagavate
Param Padam Bhushana Bhushanagam
Param Padam Bhushana Bhushanagam Yanmadgalila Kaikam Swayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Vihitam Vishmaparam Swasya Tato Bhagavate Param Param Bhushana Bhushanagam
Yet his eternal form, which Martya, mortal world, Lila Upapayakam, just suitable for the pastimes, Swayogamaya Balam, potency of the internal energy, Darshayata, for manifestation, Vihitam, discovered. I have a problem with my glasses. Vishvapanam, wonderful. Swasya, of his own. Cha, and Subhagavade, of the opulent. Param, supreme. Padam, ultimate stand. Bhushana, ornament. Bhushana Angam, of the ornaments. Translation. The Lord appeared in the world by his internal potency, Yogamaya. He came as eternal form, which is just suitable for his pastimes. These pastimes were wonderful for everyone, even for those proud of their own opulence, including the Lord himself in the form as the Lord of Vaikuntha. Thus his, Sri Krishna's transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. Also you say, the Lord appeared in the mortal world by his internal potency, Yogamaya. He came in his eternal form, which is just suitable for his pastimes. Those pastimes were wonderful for everyone, even for those proud of their own opulence, including the Lord himself in his form as the Lord of Vaikuntha. Thus his, Sri Krishna's, transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. Purport. In conformity with the Vedic hymns, Nitya Nityanam Chaitanya Chaitanam, the personality of Godhead is more excellent than all other living beings within all the universes in the material world. He is the chief of all living entities. No one can surpass him or be equal to him in wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, or renunciation. When Lord Krishna was within this universe, he seemed to be a human being because he appeared in the manner just suitable for his pastimes in the mortal world. He did not appear in human society in his Vaikuntha feature with 4 hands because that would not have been suitable for his pastimes. But in spite of his appearing as a human being, no one was or is equal to him in any respect in any of the 6 different opulences. Everyone is more or less proud of his opulence in this world. Prabhupada says even the pauper is proud of his penny. But when Lord Krishna was in the human society, he excelled all of his contemporaries within the universe. When the Lord's pastimes are visible to the human eye, they are called prakata. And when they are not visible, they are called aparata. In fact, the Lord's pastimes never stop, just as the sun never leaves the sky. The sun is always in the right orbit in the sky, but it's sometimes visible and sometimes invisible to our limited vision. Prabhupada always gives the example, you take an airplane, the sun may be clouded, it's all cloudy day, but as soon as you come through the clouds, then the sky is there, that becomes completely blue. So it's just a temporary covering of a small area, but the sun itself can never be covered. So Krishna's never covered. Similarly, the pastimes of the Lord are always current in one universe or another. Prabhupada called it Krishna's transcendental roadshow. Actually, a circus, a circus, they don't have circuses in Singapore, do they? Do? Is it? So in America, it's a little more spread out, there's a little more room. So the circus will come through town, all the clowns, all the elephants, and then they set up outside the town. Why do they come through the town? Yeah, because all the kids see it and they say, oh, I want to go, take me. And then the parents, what can they do? They got to take the kid, They're no dummies. It wasn't a free parade. They have a motive. So Krishna comes through this world just to show us. In fact, what is it? BadriNarayan Sadhunam. So Krishna has different reasons when he comes. Anyone know the 2 reasons why Krishna comes? He says in Bhagavad Gita. Yes. Oh, you're just fixing this. Sorry, raising your hand. Any of the ladies know? You can name one. What is one? To annihilate the demons, destroy the miscreants. Definitely. What's the other reason? To deliver the devotees. Oh, and establish religion. Okay, we can also accept that. But Prabhupada said actually to get rid of the demons and the asuras and the atheists and what does it take? There's one hurricane, tornado, Zika, whatever. It doesn't, the material nature can finish everybody. And then Prabhupada said, and for the devotees, they have firm faith. They know that Krishna will deliver me. So he doesn't really need to come to save the devotees. And he certainly doesn't need to come to finish off the miscreants. Prabhupada said, why does Krishna come? Just to give the devotees something to talk about. Krishna's wonderful pastimes. Because, anyway, we'll get there in a second. When the Lord's pastimes okay. The sun is always in the right orbit in the sky, but sometimes visible and sometimes invisible to our limited vision. Similarly, the pastimes of the Lord are always current in one universe or another. And when Lord Krishna disappeared from the transcendental abode of Dwarka, it was simply a disappearance from the eyes of the people there. It should not be misunderstood that his transcendental body, which is just suitable for the pastimes of the mortal world, is in any way inferior to his different expansions in Vaikuntha Loka. His body manifested in the material world is a transcendental par excellence, in the sense that his pastimes in the mortal world excel his mercy displayed in the Vaikuntha Lokas. That's an interesting sentence. His body manifested in the material world is transcendental par excellence, in the sense that his pastimes in the immortal world excel the mercy displayed in the Vaikuntha Lokas. In the Vaikuntha Lokas, the Lord is merciful towards the liberated or Nityamuktas, living entities. But in his pastimes in the mortal world, he is merciful even to the fallen souls who are nityabhadas, or conditioned forever. The 6 excellent opulences which he displayed in the mortal world by the agency of his internal potency, Yoga Maya, are rare even in the Vaikuntha Loka. All his pastimes are manifest not by the material energy, but by his spiritual energy. The excellence of his Ras Lila at Vrindavan and his household life with the 16,000 wives were wonderful even for Narayan in Vaikuntha, and is certainly so for all other living entities within the mortal world. His pastimes are wonderful even for the other incarnations of the Lord, such as Sri Ram, Nrsimha, or Varaha. His opulence was so super excellent that his pastimes were adored even by the Lord of Vaikuntha, who is non-different from Lord Krishna himself. Anyone know the difference between Vishnu and Krishna? Who can think of some differences between Vishnu and Krishna? Okay, 4 and 2, all right. Yes?
Lord Krishna has 64 qualities and Lord Vishnu has 60.
And what are those 4 unique qualities? Do you know the 4? Prabhupada said on one hand, the only difference between Vishnu and Krishna, Prabhupada said they're the same. He said Vishnu is God in the office, and Krishna is God at home. You know, when he's relaxing, and he's just, you know. Because to be, although we're all trying it, to be God, people are always, you know, Ambarish, Alfred Ford. It's an interesting story. How he, you know, you've heard of Ambarish, the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, and so many, he, you know, did all the design and the, you know, the oversaw the construction and all the funding for Prabhupada's Samadhi. So many things Ambarish has done for our society. So, I'm just trying to do the short version of the story. I was the treasurer and the Sankirtan leader at our Detroit temple. And so many college students come. So there was one college student, he said his name was Al, and he was coming to the temple. And he would come for Gita class. Gita was 3 nights a week. We'd have Gita class, and then afterwards, you know, the boys all take nice prashadam. So, you know, he's a college student. He'd sit with the other new devotees and guests and take prashadam. And one day, I was talking to our temple president, Govardhan Prabhu, and we wanted to get storm windows. When you don't experience it, but it's the heating bill, this is in 1972, 73, 74, something like that. The heating bill for the Detroit temple was $600 a month, which was half our budget, practically speaking. It was just astronomical, because it's freezing cold. So storm windows, you know, to get an outside window and an inside window, it acts like insulation. And the cost would have dropped, you know, who knows how much it would have dropped, at least, you know, half at least. But we didn't have the initial money. It was a couple $1,000s to buy the storm windows. We didn't have the money. So we were having this discussion. Govardhan had asked me to research it, and I was reporting back to him. Meanwhile, Bhakta Al and the college students are all taking prashadam. And, you know, I'm talking, and I said, you know, here's what it costs, but, you know, it'll definitely save money. We'll pay for itself within a year, 2 years, they pay for themselves, but, you know, of course, we don't have the money for the initial investment, you know. All right, whatever. And Bhakta Al said, what are you talking about? Govardhan, he's a college student, they don't have any money. Govardhan said, you know, Al, take a shot, have a little more olive, don't worry about it, you know, move on, you know. Okay, fine. A couple of days later, one of the devotees came to get me and said, there's somebody measuring the temple for storm windows. So, wait a minute, you know. So I went inside, I said, look, if it's free demonstration, no problem. He said, we have no money, there's no way we can pay you for anything, you know. I said, no, it's prepaid. I said, prepaid, let me see. He said, so he showed me the bill, and it was signed Alfred Ford. And, you know, Alfred Ford's like saying, I don't know who's the, you know, top businessman here, you know. I mean, Alfred Ford, he's never been to the temple. He's not going to pay for anything. The Ford name is like saying, you know, I don't know what, like a Rockefeller or, you know, what Gates or whatever it is, you know. And in Detroit, you know, where they make the cars, the Ford name is, I said, if this dummy's willing to accept, you know, somebody's faked Alfred Ford's signature, if he's willing, I said, as long as you're willing to accept it, no, but we're not paying, okay. So then I told Govardhan, our temple president, and he was more perceptive than me. He said, Alfred. He said, you don't think that car? I said, no way, no way. He said, ask him. I said, I'm not going to ask him. I said, ask him. So then it was a Tuesday, so the next Wednesday, you know, after Gita class, I screwed up the courage and I said, you know, are you Alfred Ford? Like, you know, it's like asking, you know, are you Mickey Mouse? Or you know, I don't know, what I'll ask. I said, are you Alfred Ford? You know, expecting him to laugh. He said, yes, I am. I was shocked. I said, why didn't you tell us? He said, oh no. He said, I don't tell people who I am. He said, all of my life, I've never known who my friends were. I didn't know if they were my so-called friends because I could fly them all to Florida in the winter to, you know, our house in Boca Raton or whatever it is, and you know, I could fly them all to our ski lodge in Aspen. I never knew who my friends were. He said, but you devotees, he said, you have no idea who I was, and you don't care. You actually cared about me as spirit soul. He said, I know that you're my real friends. It's actually quite good song. It's off the track, but just because it's kind of fun. So after we found out he was Alfred Ford and Govardhan, he's a very nice person. He was a nice person then, he's a nice person then. And he's nobody's fool. Krishna didn't give that money to a fool. He's nobody's fool. So he flew to see Srila Prabhupada. And he had some donation, I forget how much, but he actually had a nice donation to give to Prabhupada for, I think it was for the beginning of Mayapur. But here's the funny thing. Ambrish was telling that everyone was always trying to flatter him, always trying to get on his good side, or as they say in America, kiss up to him, or you know, whatever. Prabhupada was not like that at all. When he came in, he was introduced, oh, this is Alfred Ford. Prabhupada said, I know one joke about Ford. So Ambrish, okay, what's that? Prabhupada said there was a man who, blindfolded by the sound of the car, could tell the make of the car. So they tested it. This is Prabhupada's joke to Ambrish Ford, you know, the multi-millionaire who was very proud of being Ford. So Prabhupada said the man would be blindfolded, and a car went by. He said, Fiat. He was right. So another car goes by. He says, Ambassador. He was right. He's blindfolded. Now the next thing to go by was a donkey cart, and the man was selling used pots. So you can imagine all the pots were banging and clanging, the donkey had a bell, and the blindfolded man said, Ford! And Ambrish really, he started laughing like anything. And then he said, he told Prabhupada, he said, you know what Ford stands for? Prabhupada said, no. And he said, and Ambrish said, it means found on road dead. So they were joking back and forth. And Ambrish was so charmed that here was someone who actually saw him as spirit soul, didn't care that he was the son of a wealthy family, one of the most powerful families in America. He didn't care about any of that, you know. He just cared that, and he told, he opened up to Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, he said, people always want everything, want my money. People always want my money. And Prabhupada said, oh, Krishna wants your money. And then he said, but Krishna wants your heart, he wants your time, he wants your intelligence, he wants your service. He said, Krishna wants everything. And for Ambrish, he said it was the first time he thought that beyond just money, there was a whole other realm of experience and relationships and purpose beyond just, so the money was inconsequential. The real thing was he wanted Ambrish to become a devotee. So I don't know how exactly we got off on this. Oh, well, that'll do. So Prabhupada said the only difference is that you have God in the office and you have God at home. So did we finish the purport? One of our children, I mentioned the other day, Krishna, is not cheap. If we take someone lightly, they reciprocate with us lightly. We have so many casual relationships in this world. And if all you want is some material thing, well, that's what I was going to say about Ambarish, that people were always asking him for something. They didn't love him because of who he was. They loved him for what he could do for them. And similarly, the majority of people in this world, if they have a concept of God, I mean, if you step back and look at the thing, wherever there's order, wherever there's pattern, wherever there's symmetry, there's intelligence behind it. That's our experience. If I'd shown up here and nobody was here and all the furniture was all jumbled up and they hadn't cleaned up after the feast, I mean, who's in charge? What happened? The fact that someone is responsible, someone's intelligent, someone organized, you know, wherever you see order, pattern, symmetry, there's organization and intelligence behind it. So, suppose you're sitting at home and you go out to the mailbox once a month and there's a check for $2,000. What do you think? Who said, yeah, definitely. Think, well, Krishna's mercy, you know. So you first say, well, let's see if it clears, right? We got a donation one time, a check for $1 million, it didn't clear. So that was, I told her, I said, don't spend the money. Go see if it clears, you know. So you make sure it clears, it does. And the check keeps coming every month. Now, I don't know how it works here, but in America, if you have a contract and someone gives you a down payment and you cash the deposit, it's considered that you've accepted the contract by cashing the check. So if a check is coming $2,000 every month, what is the logical question that arises after some time? Huh? Guess. Who's sending it? And why are they sending it? You know, is it the wrong address? You know, why is it coming? And if somebody is sending me $2,000 a month and I'm spending the money, there's some obligation. What's my obligation? There must be a reason there's an obligation. One thinks like that. So it's natural that people who are pious think that there must be some absolute truth, there's some intelligence, there must be some God. But their only idea is to ask things. So if all of your, just like Ambarish, never knew who his friends were, never had relations of real depth, because everybody wanted something from him. So all around the world, people are praying to God, not out of love, but because of what God can do for them. Prabhupada was riding on a train, and Satsrupa Swami told me this, and in India, and there was a compartment, you know, there's the 4 berths and Prabhupada's in, and Prabhupada's doing his translating work. And it was early in the morning, so they didn't want him disturbed. Prabhupada wanted to work, you know, serious matter, doing these purports. And there were some pious Mr. Banerjee, Chatterjee, Mukherjee, you know, some Bengali Brahmins, and they wanted to, you know, oh, Swamiji, we want to get his blessings. So Hari Saripur said, it was kind of like rugby, you know? They were standing guard at Prabhupada's door, and the other guys were trying to look for an opportunity to get in. A moment's intention, they slipped in, and they were in Prabhupada's room. And they said, oh, Swamiji, give me your blessings. And they used to, you know, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The sadhu gives some, like an ATM, he does his thing, and off they go, you know? But Prabhupada was not an ordinary sadhu. Prabhupada said, and what are those blessings? Well, they'd never been asked. You know, just assumed, give me some, you know, material opulence, something. So the man, on the spot, you know, what are those blessings? The man said, oh, Swamiji, I have very bad arthritis in my knee. Can you help my knee? Prabhupada made a face like, wrong. That's not what you asked for. So the man was a little perceptive. He said, and happiness for my family. May my family, all my family be successful. You know, like a radiating out circle. First he was himself, Okay, then a little bit expanded, self-centered. Okay, his family. Prabhupada made it wrong. So then the man, he can understand. He said, oh, and peace on earth, goodwill to men. Whatever that means. Prabhupada made it wrong. Prabhupada said, you want my blessing? This is my blessing. And he pointed to Satsvarupa Swami and said, take this saffron cloth and renounce this world. Oh no, Swami. They were gone. It was actually Prabhupada's ruse. They left him all alone and Prabhupada could go back to his translating work, you know. So on one hand it was a sweet subterfuge, but on the other hand, it's a fact. That what are the... Suppose someone is tied onto a railway track in the old movies. You know, Prabhupada saw Radha Vrindavan Chandra, our beautiful, you know, in New Vrindavan, Radha Vrindavan Chandra. And Prabhupada said, they look like American movie stars. And I always wondered what he meant. And if you look, when Prabhupada was a young boy, sometimes his father took him, Prabhupada said, his father took him to see Charlie Chaplin movies and took him to see, Prabhupada said, what was it? There was one big gorilla, meaning King Kong. Prabhupada saw King Kong. You know, all black and white old movies. And if you look at the movie stars, they always had nice kajal. I wasn't kajal, but you know, they had the... So if you look at Radha Vrindavan Chandra, they have that nice, beautiful eyes. So how did we get off on that? We forgot. Exactly. I was just making sure you're listening. No, thank you. I appreciate the help. So you know, in the old still movies, you've got the nefarious rogue who ties the lady onto the railway tracks and the train is coming, right? So suppose you stumble onto that scene and the lady's tied onto the railway tracks. She's crying, help me, help me. So you think, yes, you're in distress. Tied on that railway track, must be very uncomfortable. Here's a nice pillow overhead. She's saying, you idiot, the train is coming, I've been calling for hours. Yes, I heard you calling, your throat must be sore. Here's some nice nimble pani, a little lemonade. Can't you hear the whistle of the train? I know, it must be very different. Here's a nice Bose headset, you know. Is she satisfied? Bose headset, nice cushion, ice cold lemonade. What more could you ask for? You know, the one thing she wants is off the train. Or, suppose your house, may this never happen, but if your house catches on fire. Now, what do? You run out of the house, right? So the house is on fire, you're running out of the house, you go through the kitchen. And you think, well, hang on a minute. House is on fire, who knows when I'm going to have a kitchen again? I better make a sandwich. I better make 2 sandwiches. Do you stop and make a sandwich if your house is on fire? So, what is Krishna's mercy? So Krishna is always being asked for things. Give me this. He's always being harassed. They're sending prayers in so many ways. People are lighting candles. People are offering ghee and grains, swaha. Isn't the Tibetans, don't they burn in the ashes they're supposed to carry? You know, they're tying to you know. Now, first off, if Krishna's within everyone's heart, he doesn't need some cosmic UPS system to deliver your prayers. You know, some postal air cargo. He's in everyone's heart. He already knows your prayers. So now, we should ask this question. God can hear my prayer. If I'm praying to God, there's the assumption that he can hear them, right? Otherwise, why are we wasting our time? So we're assuming that God can hear our prayers. And the assumption is that he can also fulfill our prayers, isn't it? Otherwise, why? You don't go ask a beggar, can you loan me $1,000, you know? So there's the assumption that God can fulfill our prayers. And here's our prayers. And where's the goods? You know, isn't Amazon, in America they have Amazon Prime, you can get same-day delivery. So, okay, God, where is it? I asked for it, why aren't you delivering it? So, and Prabhupada gives the classic example that in the communist time, you know, simple people, simple villagers, they're all starving. They would say, go into your church and pray for bread. Which Prabhupada said, our Father out in heaven, you know, give us this day our daily bread. It's there in Mahavakyam, the Lord's Prayer. It is. It's one of the cornerstone prayers of Christianity. Prabhupada said it's not really love of God, it's love of bread, you know. But anyway, at least they're addressing the right source. So people go into the communists would say, please, go into the church, pray for bread. People would go in, offer their prayers, no bread, come out. Communists would say, hey, so where's your bread? I said, oh, no bread, communist friend. Prabhupada said, ask us, comrade. He said, please give me bread. He'd blow his whistle, and around the corner they had a truck parked. The truck would come along, and loaves of bread, feed everybody, and then the man would say, who's better, your communist friend or your God? Who's better? Oh, you communist friend, because you get the bread. Because Prabhupada said, where did the grain come from? Where did the water come from? Where did so many things. But the point is that Krishna can supply us. Somebody asked me one time, well, how come everybody's got to serve? Why does Krishna insist that everyone serve him? Why can't he, you know, it's like, does he have some insecurity, low self-esteem program? Why can't he just let us go to the material world? Why does everybody have to serve Krishna? Krishna's not happy unless everyone's serving him. He hears that on some planet in a remote corner of the Amazon jungles, someone is not bowing down to him. And Krishna goes there and makes them bow down. Is that Krishna's mentality? Why? Can Krishna help it that he's the best? In other words, Krishna wants to give the best thing to every living entity. And what is that best thing? No one can. Prabhupada says you make Krishna your child, he'll never grow up. You make Krishna your husband, he'll never send you away. You make Krishna your parent, you know, whatever. Krishna is perfect. He's all attractive. One devotee asked Prabhupada, you know, because we have our BBT paintings, right? So one devotee said to Prabhupada, you know, Prabhupada, in this picture Krishna looks like this. But in this picture he looks like this. But in this picture he looks like this. How does he actually look? Prabhupada said, don't worry. When you go there, you'll recognize him. So, you know, Krishna's all attractive. He appears perfectly. It can be, if you look at the cover of the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, that in, you know, I remember getting the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the first time I wasn't a devotee, I was trying to, you know, just find out what it was all about. And I just by reading the dust jacket of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole material world, how it all fits together, all the different planets, the Brahmajyoti, the Vaikuntha Lokas, the Krishna. I mean, I said, I haven't even opened the book. I've read the dust jacket. And I've already learned more in the dust jacket than I've read so many books about mysticism and this and that and philosophy and just the dust jacket, I've learned more. I said, forget that, I'm reading the Bhagavatam, you know. But the point is that on that cover of the Bhagavatam, you can see there's Krishna Loka, but there's also Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And Prabhupada said you can go back and forth. One devotee asked, you know, may we have such a problem? Talk about asking a question above your pay grade. But they asked Prabhupada, you know, oh, Prabhupada, you know, sometimes I want to be with Krishna and Krishna Loka, Vrindavan, but then I like Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and I don't know how to choose, you know. First, master the four regulative principles and, you know, a few other, but that's all right, you know. Anyway, it was a nice question. Prabhupada said, don't worry, you can go back and forth. You can go from Krishna Lila to Lord Chaitanya's Lila, back and forth, back and forth. Prabhupada said it could be daylight and night simultaneously. The cowherd boys, they can be playing on Govardhan Hill, and the gopis are dancing with Krishna by the banks of the Jamuna, simultaneously. Why not? So the simple point is, Krishna, that's what we're looking for. Nothing else will actually satisfy us. And Krishna, in whatever our particular ras, he reciprocates perfectly. So the point is, just like the lady tied onto the train tracks, that will not, and whatever little, making her situation a little more comfortable doesn't solve her problems. We all, what is it George Harrison writes, and he got it from Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, they asked him, how many devotees are there? Prabhupada said, everyone's a devotee. Simply some people know it, and some people don't. Everyone is looking for Krishna. Parikshit, you know, that he came out of the womb looking for Krishna. Everyone is looking for Krishna. Everyone is looking for a relationship with Krishna. That is what will satisfy us. And therefore, Krishna's obligation is to give us the best thing. Suppose, suppose, we have a Brahmin, no brahmacharis here. Okay, suppose I'm visiting, and as I'm leaving, I give you $1,000. It's not as good as the $2,000 in the mail, but oh yeah, I give you $1,000. And you think, hey, BadriNarayan Swami's not so bad. Come more often, Visit again soon, So you go back and you report to your friends, hey, this BadriNarayan Swami just gave me $1,000. Said use it in Krishna's service. Very nice. And they said, gee, that's funny. He gave all of us $5,000. How? I mean, of course, you're, an equipoised, saintly devotee. But in an ordinary comparison of things, although you were very happy with the $1,000, when you find that everybody else got $5, you think, wait, hang on a minute. Where's my other $4? Has he made it to the airport yet? I'm going to get the rest of my money, So, if Krishna can give us, if that's all we want, if that's all we have the Sukriti, the transcendental Sukriti to qualify for, and all we want is we're praying, fix my knee, or, get my kid through college, or... I mentioned the other day about Dharma Setu. He said he does all the ovens and, all the jugas and everything in Southern California. He's an expert. He's a very nice devotee, too. Joined Krishna consciousness at 14 years old. Ran away from home and moved into the temple. I mean, he was definitely a devotee in a previous life. He's a wonderful... So, what was I going to say about Dharma Setu? No yagyas. Huh? Completely slips my mind. It'll come back. But the point is that if you want, Krishna will give us what we want. But what we want doesn't actually satisfy us. Therefore, Krishna's mercy is not always that we get it. If you look at devotees' lives, look at Prabhupada's life. It was not an easy life materially. And we'll just be coming over heart attacks, so many things. But Prabhupada said that you teach the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. You ever heard this saying? So in a similar fashion, whatever difficulty we have in spreading Krishna consciousness, just look at Srila Prabhupada. Whatever we went through, Prabhupada went through it in spades. Prabhupada, passed out from heat stroke, in Delhi, in hot Delhi, trying to distribute his Back to Godhead magazine. He came to America. It was not in Greece. When Prabhupada came to New York City and sailed in the harbor, Statue of Liberty, the big skyline, very impressive, right? You know what Prabhupada's observation of New York City was? That the whole place smelled like dog stool. He was not impressed by New York City. He wrote back to Srimad Bhagavatam after that first winter in New York City. He said it is a white hell. It's not an easy place to live, So when you think of all the austerities that Srila Prabhupada went through, then we think that, for a little difficult for me to spread Krishna consciousness, what is it? So if we look at what Prabhupada was gored by a bull after he took sannyas. Prabhupada says on one tape, he said, I'd taken sannyas, I'd taken shelter of Vrindavan. And all of a sudden I was gored by a bull. He doesn't elaborate. He says, at the time I was thinking, Krishna, why have you done that? Now I understand why. So Krishna moves his devotees and does his own, and it's all, why does a potter need the clay? A potter? And he works the clay before he, shapes it and then fires it in the kiln. Why does he need the clay? Some kind of therapy with the speakers? Why? Anyone know? Make a soft? No, that's not quite the soft. Anyone have another reason? That's already soft. He's already got it soft. You can make it in any form. Anyone else want to hazard a guess? What if there's any air pocket or any piece of straw or something in there? When you put it in the kiln and it's fired, it'll crack. The air will expand and it'll crack. So you have to get, it has to be homogeneous. It has to be completely smooth and no air inside. Otherwise it will crack. Now, what is it? Ante Narayana Shruti. At the time of death, can you remember Krishna? At the time of death, it's the most difficult time. The life heirs are, everyone is. There was a man in San Diego. He was a wealthy realtor. And he had a stroke. And he couldn't speak. And he was lying on his deathbed. But he could hear. They didn't know that. The kids, adult children, were all saying, pull the plug, we want the will. The wife, was already moving on the new guy, he's flirting with the doctor, he could hear the whole thing. And the guy came out of the coma, disinherited the parents, disinherited the kids, married the nurse, divorced the wife. It's not a success formula, but my point is that the time of death, everything is challenged. And will we be able to remember Krishna? So life is preparation for that. Krishna puts us in difficulty. We learn, I can say for myself, I've been trying to practice Krishna consciousness since 1970, so you can do the math, however long that is. And I've made the most advancement when I've been in a difficult position. I've been forced to surrender. I've been forced. How do muscles, why do they lift weights? Why do they do, what happens when you lift all those weights? Anyone know what happens to the muscle? It rips, hasn't it? And then it heals. Yeah. And that's how, by that resistance and by that tearing and mending, it becomes stronger. So here we're getting a description of Krishna. He's all attractive. I don't know if I travel so much I forget what I said where, but they asked Prabhupada one time, why is Krishna blue? Prabhupada said, because it's so gorgeous. Perfect answer, Krishna's all attractive. And and here we're getting, he's the ornament of ornaments. Even Lord Narayan is attracted to Krishna. The goddess of fortune performs austerities so that she can become a gopi and dance with Krishna. So, and they love Krishna, not for what he can do for them. Like the gopis, the story, Krishna has a headache and all that. They didn't care. They didn't want anything from Krishna. That was the very qualification. So Krishna is all attractive, all satisfying, the best friend. And that's what he wants to give to us. So if we have to, the difficulties in this world, the unanswered prayers. I had a dream one time. Managing the temple, there's sometimes you need money for different things. It's not uncommon, I was the temple president. The simultaneous trifecta, perfect storm. The water heater blew out, the walk-in cooler stopped, and the roof caved in, or whatever. Oh, jeez, So I was in anxiety. I went to sleep, and in my dream, I won a lottery ticket. So, and actually it was perfect, because I thought, we don't gamble. So in my dream, I was pulling into a convenience store with my son, and we were getting some juice or some water, and my son said, hey, I found a lottery ticket. I said, we don't gamble. In my dream, oh, we found it, so we're not gambling. I said, okay. And we scratched it. The next day, we won like $10 million. And I was sending it to the TOVP. I was, doing what I was doing. And then I woke up, and I'd slept through my alarm. I'd missed Mangalartik, and I was poor as a church mouse, So I had a moment of, I was a little disappointed. So we want Krishna to satisfy our material desires. But if you wait on a pan balance, if we stay comfortable in this world, take another birth, stay full of anxiety and envy and lust and greed and anger, the gates to hell, all that rattling around in the brain. How is that actually Krishna's mercy? So Krishna's mercy is to help us become a pure devotee. And here it's describing what the fruit is. To actually have Krishna's association. Prabhupada saw, and we'll end here and then take some questions. Prabhupada was in the zoo, the Calcutta Zoo. And there was Prabhupada would see things and see things in a different way. So when he got out of the zoo, he went through the whole zoo, all the big animals are there. Prabhupada got out, turned to the devotees and said, what did we learn today from the visit to the zoo? The devotees had no idea. Prabhupada said, we learned that intelligence is better than strength. because all the big animals, the big, gorilla and tiger, they're all in cages. The intelligent man, who on a 1-to-1, you can have Bruce Lee against the Bengal tiger. Who are you going to vote for? So even though they're the most ferocious and strongest, because of the intelligence of the man, they're captured. So Prabhupada said intelligence is better than strength. But Prabhupada saw it was Guru Kripa was there, and there was a big Bengal tiger, and Guru Kripa wanted the tiger to roar, so he was throwing rocks at the tiger trying to get it to roar. Prabhupada saw it. Prabhupada said, no, he is suffering enough. He was king of the jungle, and now he's trapped like this. So Prabhupada was feeling compassion for the nobility of the tiger. Don't torture him, But there was a little boy, and the little boy, I don't know, let's say this size, 6, 7, just sufficient size to be a nice snack item for that tiger. It's like a little pakora or something, a little mini samosa. So, but the little boy had the hand of his father, and the tiger was roaring, and the little boy was roaring back, because he was thinking, I have my father. So he was feeling fearless. So similar for a devotee, we have our Krishna. We feel we're fearless. We know this life, next life, sooner or later, I go back to Godhead. And now I can serve Krishna. And within our mind, we can think about Krishna. Everything is perfect. So we should remember it takes a little intelligence. I was saying about not being sentimental the other night, that, and I mentioned how my brother, when he went to college, the dean said, of the freshman class, only 50% of you are going to make it. We are getting that which solves all things. All of our anxieties, all of our fears, all of our distresses are completely finished. And rather than just coming to zero, as I mentioned the poem by that little boy. There's a little kid, his name is Krishna Das, he wrote a little poem. It was, sweet, sweet, can't be beat, what a taste serving Krishna's 2 lotus feet. So that taste of serving Krishna, there's nothing that compares to it. Beautiful Krishna appearing within the mind, and ultimately we go back home, back to Godhead. So, isn't that something? There's prayas and shreyas. We can get some petty little solution and a petty little happiness, or we can become serious and go back home, back to Godhead. And when we read these descriptions, it gives us an impetus that I was on a morning walk with Prabhupada, and right out of the blue, Prabhupada's walking at the front, we're all walking along. Prabhupada turned, put his cane down, looked at us and said, I know you're all atheists, but there really is Krishna. And turned around and kept right on walking. It was like, oh, okay, he knows us very well, Another time a devotee was asking Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada, does it rain like this in the spiritual world? And oh, Prabhupada, is there fog like this in the spiritual world? Oh, Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, just go there and find out. So that option is ours. And this life goes by very quickly. The older you get, the faster time goes. I mean, that's my experience. I think maybe, if you're 2 years old, then 1 year was 50% of your life. If you're 80 years old, 1 year is 80% of your life. I don't know if that's the exact reason. But definitely the older you get, the faster time goes. This life is over before you know it. If you ever, like Padma Prabhu goes to this old folks, the hospice, you talk to those oldsters. They'll tell you your life just like that. My father's passed away, but I remember him saying to my son, his grandson, my son was saying, I don't know where the last year went. My father said, last year? I lost the last decade. I don't know what happened. So this life actually is very short. And if we just give it to Krishna, and Krishna's very kind. We don't have to be, we should always be trying to improve. But at the same time, it's the devotees in New Vrindavan. Prabhupada was in Detroit, and they were driving from New Vrindavan. It's about a 6-hour drive. So they were looking for they didn't know this, but all the temple presidents, from different temples were there, and they'd all flown in, like one devotee, one temple president purchased, fragrant roses from Costa Rica, and made a big garland for Prabhupada. Another devotee had flown in, gardenias, big gardenias from Florida. They made a big gardenia. Another devotee flew in champak flowers, or frangipani from Hawaii. So they were all, Prabhupada was getting these big, super fragrant, each garland worth a couple $100. So they're offering these big garlands to Srila Prabhupada. You ever see those pictures of Prabhupada's completely covered? Sometimes you can only see his head, It was like one of those things. They're all offering the garlands. Now the devotees from New Vrindavan didn't have any money. And they didn't know that this whole other scene was going on. They wanted to make some garlands for Prabhupada. So they just picked whatever they saw along the road. Just wildflowers growing along the road. So they made this little garland, right? Kalari tones. And so when they showed up, they saw, it's like Sudam Brahmana, Krishna's living in Dwarka and you got a chip rice, forget it, So they saw Prabhupada getting all these big garlands. They were too embarrassed to go up with their little, their little string garland. What they do? So he just put it behind his back. Prabhupada, who was always never missed a thing, Prabhupada called him forward. So he sheepishly came up with his little. Prabhupada took off all the big garlands and distributed them, passed them all out. He took the little garland and put it on, and then he said, forest flowers, just like Radharani makes for Krishna. And that's the garland he kept. So it's a simple thing that, it's the devotion from the simple devotion. And we all have that capacity. There's a Christian medieval parable that comes from the Catholic tradition. And this man moves into the monastery. And he's a simple man. He was a circus clown. And he used to juggle in the circus, He wasn't very sophisticated. It was the Virgin Mary's birthday. Just like we have Janmashtami, Radhastami, so it was the Virgin Mary. So, one man was an expert musician. So he wrote a concerto in C, he was playing it on his violin. Another guy carved a beautiful statue of the Virgin Mary. Another was a painter. So they offered all these wonderful things, right? The juggler was feeling, what can I do? He was so, I don't have anything to offer. I have no skill, no talent. All I am is a juggler. So when everyone had gone to bed, the festivities were over, he went into the sanctuary, the chapel, and he just juggled whatever he could find, Bibles, candlesticks, donation plates. He gave his whole heart to juggling. And the story goes that the next morning when the monks all came in for the service, he passed out from exhaustion, and the Virgin Mary was wiping his brow and caressing him. In other words, it's the same principle. It was the principle of bhakti, that he'd offered to the best of his ability whatever he had, and that's what Krishna relished. So we have the ultimate goal. We go back home, back to Godhead. You can read in the Brihad, Bhagavatam Rita. You're standing there, the cowherd boys come over the hill, Krishna says, come on, join us, and you join in and off you go. Like lightning and illumination simultaneously, Narada Muni says, give up this body and go back to Godhead. So that gift is there. And even in this life, just simple service to Krishna. So we should remember what this is all about, what this movement can provide. Devotees say, oh, I have to do the noon arti, or I have to go to eat. You don't have to do anything. You can go home and do whatever. But that we get the opportunity to engage in Krishna's service and what the benefit is, we should remind ourselves. Okay, we can end there. What should we do now? Should we end? Should we take questions? What should we do? Anybody have any questions? Yes?
Maharaj, so how can we keep our devotional service simple and not complicated?
Well, sometimes we have to do complicated things. So we're not adverse to complicated things. We just want to serve Krishna, whatever. But if I understand you properly, Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me this, that he was the temple commander. He'd been appointed the temple commander of the LA temple. Now, there were probably about 30 devotees in the temple, a congregation of about 50. But, it was a big position. So he went to Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, I have this new big position, and I'm afraid I'm going to get puffed up with this new position. What should I do? Prabhupada said, you can think like this. You can think that there's Mahavishnu lying down in a corner of the spiritual world. And from his breathing, every exhalation, And then he inhales back in. Just one exhalation, all this universe has come. Now, in one of those universes, he expands his Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Lord Brahma comes, and there's so many planets. So there's so many universes, in every universe so many planets, in every planet so many continents, on every continent so many states, every state so many cities, every city so many streets, every street so many buildings. And in one of those rooms of one of those buildings is Tamal Krishna thinking, I am very important. So if we remember our position, that actually, one devotee stood up one time, this is in Detroit, said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen, I'm the most sinful, I'm the most... Prabhupada said, actually you're not the most anything, sit down. So, I mean, you're all great Vaishnavas who've taken birth to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. But I know for me, I was a dog somebody threw a pakora, some Vaishnava threw me a little something in a previous life, and therefore I was able to take the devotional service, Agyata Sukriti. So if we remember our actual position, and what can we do? You know, if you think about how the gopis are serving Krishna, or how the devas are serving Krishna, what can we actually do? But that, so if we remember our position, and we remember our good fortune, then it's easy to serve Krishna. It's not complicated. And we should do, you know, Jayananda. Jayananda is one of the original heroes, the start of the Ratha Yatra. I'll tell you a quick story about Jayananda. Jayananda, started the Ratha Yatra, president of the San Francisco temple, made so many devotees. Karandar showed up to the San Francisco temple, just wanted to check it out. Jayananda was taking out the garbage. He said, hey, can you help me? You're big and strong, can you help me? An hour later, Karandar was in bliss. They took all the garbage, took it all to the dump, and he thought, if the garbage men at the Hare Krishna temple is this happy, he said, imagine what the rest of the devotees are experiencing, convinced him to be a devotee. Guru Kripa, you can ask him. He actually came to beat up the devotees. He saw these guys in saffron robes, shaved head, vegetarian, little wimps. So he was like Banasura. He loved to fight. He literally went to bed, because there was an article in the San Francisco Chronicle, Hare Krishna, Ratha Yatra, in 2 days, whatever, building the cart. So he actually went to bed with the newspaper by his bed, thinking, when I get up in the morning, I'm going to look at the dress, I'm going to go beat up a Hare Krishna. He was saying, look, he was happy, Woke up, got ready to go, went down. As he was coming, right to where the devotees were building the cart, ran into Jayananda. Jayananda said, hey, you look strong, can you help me for a minute? And Jayananda was a big guy, actually, and it was his enthusiasm was infectious. So he was so enthusiastic that Guru Kripa just fell in line. And Guru Kripa told me, he said, the next thing I knew was 5 o'clock at night. They'd stuffed him full of prasadam. He'd been working hard all day. He never had such a happy day in his life. Came home, moved into the temple, and never left. Although 24 hours earlier, his intent was to beat up the devotees. So that's Jayananda. Jayananda, I volunteered, it's a long story, but somehow I got to be on his work party, for the Ratha Yatra. He worked hard. And, he was 28, 30 years old. We're all 17, 18, 19. He wore us all into the ground. And when we got back to the temple was packed full of guest devotees. We cleaned out a broom closet. We're sleeping in the broom closet. We said, Jayananda, where are you going to sleep? I said, well, why don't you stay here, Jayananda? He said, no. He said, I don't really like to sleep very much. He said, but if I have to sleep, I'm going to sleep by the front door. Now, the temple on Frederick Street was kind of a rough neighborhood. And he had calculated, there were drunks who would try to break in and stuff like that. He had calculated that if he has to lie down, let me lie down by the front door so I can serve as a guard, that if someone tries to break in, I'll wake up. He calculated how to make his sleeping and lying down, even that was service to Krishna. I was so impressed. I said, this man is a genuine devotee. With so many Jayananda stories. So, Jayananda got the first New York Ratha Yatra, Prabhupada was living in the Bowery, wandering practically homeless in New York City. And then to be sailing down Fifth Avenue in New York City, Prabhupada said at the time, the most important street in the most important city in the most important country of the world. Prabhupada sailing down with thousands of followers, sailing down Fifth Avenue. It's an amazing thing. If you want to talk about something mystical, that's mystic power. So Jayananda had built the carts, done everything. In the middle of the night, the Balaram's canopy had blown over, repaired the whole thing, you know. So that evening, all the big GBCs, big sannyasis, temple presidents were all sitting with Prabhupada. Prabhupada comes in, sits down, looks at everyone there for the darshan, says, "Where is Jayananda?" They said, "Oh, Prabhupada, we don't know." Prabhupada said, "Go and find him." So Adikeshava told me this. Adikeshava went to find Jayananda. Jayananda was underneath one of the Sankirtan vans, fixing the Sankirtan van. And all you could see was his feet sticking out, you know, because he's underneath. And he's preaching to a couple of hippies, you know, they're in rapture, you know, he's preaching to them, and he's fixing the car, you know. So Adikeshava says, you know, Prabhupada wants you to come. He said, "No, he doesn't really want me to come. He's just trying to encourage me, and I've got to fix this van, you know, because the devotees want to go out on Sankirtan. They came for the festival. I have to fix the van so they can go tomorrow morning." So he didn't go. So Adikeshava reported back to Prabhupada, you know, he's fixing the Sankirtan van and says he's all covered with oil, you know, he really can't come. He's too embarrassed to come. Prabhupada said, "Go and get him." Adikeshava went back. Again made the appeal. Again, Jayananda said, "You know, he's just trying to encourage him, I'm covered with grease, he doesn't want, you know, I smell bad, I'm not going, you know." Third time Adikeshava reported this back, Prabhupada said, "Go and get him. Tell him I will not speak until he comes." So then Jayananda came, overalls, everything, and literally the man had not slept for 72 hours. As soon as he sat down, just in the back of the room, he sat down, Prabhupada just wanted to see him. So he said, immediately fell asleep. And there was some little brahmachari, you know, I mean, the man literally had not sat, you know, he's bone tired, as they say in America. Fell asleep immediately. Brahmachari woke him up, you know. Third time the brahmachari went to wake him up, you know, Prabhupada, a whole crowded room, darshan, lively conversation. Prabhupada said, "Don't touch him." Prabhupada said, "He's doing more than all of you combined." And then Prabhupada went on with the darshan. He just wanted to see Jayananda, his disciple, just sitting there, you know. So that simple service attracted Krishna. So we can all do some simple service. Prabhupada said one time, there's no unemployment problem in Iskcon. You ask your temple president, "Prabhu, is there anything I can do to help?" Say, "Oh, I've been waiting for somebody to ask," you know. And whatever our talent. And it doesn't matter what you do. If you have money, give money. We need money. You know, if you don't have money, that doesn't matter at all. If you could sweep the floor. There's an old lady who comes to the temple. She's actually passed away, but her name is Brajabadu. She was the oldest initiated disciple of Prabhupada. She's passed away now. She lost track. She was 97, 98, 99. She lost track. She used to have, the devotees would pick her up and bring her to the temple. She'd come for darshan and they'd take her home. But she was insistent that she would sweep the patio. And she would start, she'd come for Bhagwatam. The devotees would pick her up, she'd come for darshan. She'd come for Bhagwatam class. She'd take some prasadam. So by 10 o'clock by this time, she'd start to sweep. And I swear to you, whoosh, and she'd rest. Whoosh, and she'd rest. It would take her literally 6 hours. She'd start at one end, whoosh, rest. Whoosh, rest. We think, you know, the devotees embrace it. Mataji, come on, sit down with the Brahman. No. She said, you know, the brain doesn't work. I can't do this anymore. He said, but at least I can sweep. She was attached. At least she could do that for Krishna. And I know that her Prabhupada was giving, you know, the Radha Damodar classes in the Nectar Devotion classes in Radha Damodar, the Prabhupada, fantastic classes. So Prabhupada speaking, Guru Das told me this one. So Prabhupada speaking, and there was a lady. Now they've built kind of a shed there or whatever it is, but it used to all just be an open patio, courtyard, you know, and Rupa Goswami Samadhi and the Bhashan Kutir there. So there was a lady who every morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, would open this side gate. And when she would open the gate, you know, everyone knows that sound if you've been to India, you know, with the buckets of water. She'd put the buckets down and clang, you know, the handle would make that clang sound. So Prabhupada speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, she would come through the gate, clang, you know. So the second or third day that every morning she came through, right, same time, right on schedule, old lady, you know, these 2 big buckets of water. Third day she came through, docked the handles, clanged. One sannyasi went over to chastise her, you know, Prabhupada said, no, don't bother her. Prabhupada said, since she was a little girl, every day. Rain, cold, help. She has not missed a single day. She brings 2 buckets of water from the Jamuna for bathing Radha Damodar. And Prabhupada said, at the end of this life, she is going back to Godhead. By that simple, but if you think about it, every day, you never miss a single day bringing these buckets of water for bathing Radha Damodar. And the devotees went to tell her, congratulatory, that, Prabhupada had said that, just because of your service to Radha Damodar that's faithful, you're going to go back to Godhead. She immediately covered her ears. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't care. She just wanted to serve her beautiful Damodar. So it doesn't matter what we do. We should work. Prabhupada said, like when you eat, Prabhupada said, if you work like a horse, you can eat like a horse. If you work like a bird, you should eat like a bird. You shouldn't work like a bird and eat like a horse, So whatever our capacity to serve, that Dwarkadish told me, a little kid named Dwarkadish, he was also a poet and smart. And when I would come to the temple, I was a college student, I didn't have much money. But I had some money, I had money. I would keep my coins in one pocket, and I would keep my bills in the other pocket. This is my filing system. So you'd go in for darshan, and when you leave, they had a bowl or a plate there, and you'd put some donation in. And I would always empty my pockets and put my change in, And in my defense, it was a couple dollars with inflation rate. I wasn't a complete cheapskate, but it wasn't the bills I had in my pocket. So after I did this a couple times, and Dwarkadish was sitting, his little boy, 6, 7 years old, maybe 8. Third or fourth time I did it, he tapped my pocket with the bills. And he said to me, Krishna doesn't see what you give. Krishna sees what you keep. I was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed and impressed. I thought, this little boy has figured out my system. And in a very nice philosophical way, he's pointed out to me that I'm trying to cheat Krishna and I'm the one being cheated. I took everything out and put it, it's psychic, So we should give to our full capacity. We shouldn't just think, oh, well, let me just sweep the floor when we can do something more. But everybody can do something for Krishna. And we should be attached to doing some tangible service. So I think we should end there. Okay? So thank you for sitting so patiently. Hare Krishna.